Good day everyone. I'm Ivan, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone to today's webinar, which is how to prepare for a regulatory inspection, FDA, EMA, and notified body audits. I want to introduce our presenter for today, Charles H. Paul. Charles H. Paul is the president of CH Hall Consulting Inc. Charles has been a regulatory consultant to the life sciences industry for over 20 years and has published numerous white papers on the subject. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Charles.
Thank you very much, Liam. Good morning. Good morning, folks. Welcome to our webinar on how to prepare for regulatory inspection within the FDA, EMA, and notified body audits. Regulatory audits, as we begin here, regulatory inspections really, as we begin to discuss this topic, are a vital part of doing business in the pharmaceutical, biotech, and medical device industries. Now, regulatory inspections really aren't just about passing or failing. They're about ensuring we do the right things to protect patients and maintain product quality. Now, let's talk about who's doing the inspecting in itself. Now, in the U.S., that, as we all know, is typically the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Although these agencies all have different jurisdictions, they share one common goal: to make sure that life science companies are producing safe, effective, and high-quality products. Before we jump into the details, let's take a quick look at what we're going to be covering today. First, we'll go over the different types of inspections, whether it's a routine FDA visit, a surprise inspection, or a notified body audit. Next, we'll walk through the steps you can take to prepare. Then we'll look at what happens during the inspection itself. Now, finally, we'll wrap up with post-inspection activities like writing CAPAs, responding to any findings. Now, let's begin with the FDA, which conducts different types of inspections depending on the purpose. Now, for cause inspections are triggered when something specific has gone wrong, like a product recall, a serious complaint, or adverse event. Now, the FDA typically zones in on four main areas. First and foremost is data integrity. Here's how a typical FDA inspection unfolds. Now, most inspections, especially in the U.S., are unannounced, as I've indicated. Now, switching over to the European Medicines Agency, the EMA, their inspections can look a little different. Now, the EMA inspects manufacturing sites for GMP compliance, clinical trial sites for GCP compliance, and also evaluates pharmacovigilance systems, how you monitor and respond to safety issues. What are the EMA inspectors commonly finding? Let's talk about notified bodies, which are quite different from the FDA or the EMA. It's important to understand really the differences between regulatory inspections and these notified body audits. Let's look at how often NB notified body audits happen. Now, under the new EU MDR and IVDR regulation, to wrap up this short section here, let's really zoom out and recap here for a moment. So every agency or auditing body has its own language and expectations, as I've indicated. But at the end of the day, they all care about the same things: patient safety, product quality, and process control. Regulatory inspections can be stressful, but much of that stress comes from being unprepared. So once you take time to get ready in advance, you remove the guesswork and you prevent last-minute scrambling. That's really the value of pre-inspection preparation. It's so incredibly important. So internal audits really are one of the most powerful tools in your pre-inspection toolkit. Gap analysis is a little different from that internal audit. It's more about strategically comparing what you have in place to what's required. You know what document that you certainly know that documents and documentation is really everything. Next, your quality management system is something we want to talk about here. So your QMS is really the backbone of regulatory compliance. So your standard operating procedures are the written instructions, and I've already talked a little bit about this so far. They are the written instructions for how your company operates. They're one of the first things inspectors will request. That's why SOP management is such a big part of inspection readiness. Now, there are some documents that always attract attention during inspections. So even if your systems and documentation are perfect, an inspection can still go poorly if your team isn't prepared. That's why training your staff is critical to inspection readiness. Now, having a dedicated inspection response team is also one of the smartest ways to stay in control during an audit. Now, you wouldn't run a fire drill without practicing, of course, and the same goes for inspections. Mock inspections are an excellent way to test your systems, train your team, and identify problems before real inspection. One often overlooked part of inspection readiness is the physical space itself. Where will the inspectors sit? Who will host them? What environment are you creating? This is the one that's most often overlooked. Now, data integrity continues really to be one of the most common inspection findings. So inspectors often ask about your supply chain. Just make sure that there's ongoing activity associated with it and that you've documented it. Let's take a step back here. So when the inspection begins, The tone you set on day one can influence the entire experience. Each member of your inspection response team must really know their role and stick to it. These defined roles help things run smoothly and reduce confusion. Now, a site tour is one of the most visible parts of that inspection and often one of the most revealing. So during inspections, your document requests are going to come quickly. Now, your subject matter experts are your technical voice during an inspection. They're critical and very, very important. Now, good communication during an inspection is not about saying the perfect thing. Just as important as what to do during an inspection is knowing what not to do. Inspections move fast. So every inspection really is going to have its tough moments. Now, with so many companies using electronic systems now, it's essential to know how to present digital records during an inspection. During the inspection, the inspector may offer verbal comments or concerns. Once the inspection ends, it's really time to carefully review the observations. Next is corrective and preventive actions, or CAPAs. They're also a tremendous learning opportunity. They reveal where your systems are strong. They and certainly where they can get better. To wrap things up, finally, regulatory inspections are normal. They're not out to get you. They're part of working within this regulated industry that we all work within, that protects people's health. Now, success comes down to three things: preparation, teamwork, and documentation. If your team knows what to do, your records are clean and accessible, and your systems are accurately monitored, you're really in a great position. You need to treat inspection findings as opportunities, not failures. Every comment, every observation, and every suggestion is a chance to improve your systems and strengthen your compliance. That's how companies grow, and that's how we protect patients and products and our products. Now, on that note, folks, I'm complete with my presentation. So on that note, I'd like to thank everybody for participating today. I'd certainly like to indicate that hopefully to see you at any other offerings and in this area. And certainly have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles. That concludes the session for today. And thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day.